Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a massive global machine that literally keeps the modern world running, but has a surprisingly invisible environmental footprint. We're talking about the global maritime industry. Beneath this incredible globe-spanning logistical network lies a seriously outdated and incredibly wasteful operational model. But shifting this massive sector toward a circular economy, well, it isn't just an environmental must-do anymore. It is a strategic power move that could unlock billions of dollars in hidden value and completely reinvent oceanic trade as we know it.
80%. Let that number just sink in for a second. That is the staggering volume of world trade handled by maritime shipping. We're talking about over 11 billion tons of cargo moving across our oceans every single year. The stakes here are absolutely monumental. Honestly, if shipping isn't sustainable, global trade simply isn't sustainable. And the reality is, the current way this industry operates is putting an unsustainable strain on our global resources.
So all this incredible volume fuels what researchers call the linear trap. It's that classic take, make, dispose model, and it generates an unbelievable amount of waste. Just to put it in perspective, the Port of Los Angeles disposed of 12,000 tons of solid waste in a single year. And get this, only 30% of it was recycled. Globally, just dredging operations to keep ports deep enough produce 240 million cubic meters of sediment annually, and a lot of that is contaminated. What about the energy cost? Europe's largest port, the Port of Rotterdam, pumps out 25 million tons of CO2 every single year. This linear approach is all about moving cargo as fast as humanly possible, while basically ignoring whatever gets left behind.
So how do we fix this? We need a massive paradigm shift. For decades, the industry has prioritized throughput above all else. Get the cargo from point A to point B fast and just throw away whatever breaks. But the circular model flips the script entirely. It aims to decouple economic growth from resource consumption. The goal here is to design out waste from day one, keeping materials in use for as long as possible, and shifting our whole mindset to reduce, reuse, and regenerate.
I absolutely love this reframing from the European CirclesOfLife project. They put it perfectly. Ships are floating repositories of high-grade steel, non-ferrous metals, and reusable components. Think about that. When a massive cargo ship finally reaches the end of its life, it isn't just some giant piece of floating trash. It's a highly valuable resource bank. When we start looking at end-of-life vessels this way, we suddenly unlock a massive sustainable supply of critical raw materials that can go right back into the industrial ecosystem. And the CirclesOfLife project actually maps out a full life cycle roadmap to pull this off. Because true circularity doesn't just happen at the scrapyard, right? It starts at step 1, design. Then it carries all the way through construction, operation, and finally dismantling. The whole point of this consortium is to bridge the gap between heavy regulations and new innovation, rethinking literally every phase of a ship's life. That way, when it's finally time to take the ship apart, recovering those materials isn't just doable, it's actually highly profitable.
Now you might be wondering, is this all just a nice theory? No way. It's backed up by hard data. Researchers took a deep dive into operational data from 30 global ports, and they found a statistically significant link between adopting circular economy practices and achieving way better sustainability outcomes. In fact, a measly 1-point increase in a port's circular adoption score directly leads to a 5.2% drop in waste, plus measurable improvements in energy efficiency. The math checks out. Circularity directly equals operational efficiency.
But I should point out, it's not a level playing field across the globe right now. European ports are leading the pack, scoring a 4.1 out of 5 on average for circular adoption. Asian ports, meanwhile, are hovering around a 3.2. So what's driving this gap? 2 words: policy frameworks. Big initiatives like the EU's Circular Economy Action Plan gave European ports a serious head start, showing that you really do need strong regulatory pushes to jumpstart this kind of industry-wide transformation.
Let's look at a real-world success story of those European policies in action, the Port of Antwerp-Bruges. They are diverting an incredible 85% of their industrial waste away from landfills. 85%? They do this through something called industrial symbiosis. It basically means they've created a circular zone where one factory's waste literally becomes the raw material for the factory right next door. It's an amazingly efficient closed-loop system where waste is practically eliminated.
And it's not just about sharing physical waste. Cutting-edge tech is playing a huge role too. Take Singapore's Tuas port, for example. They managed a massive 20% reduction in their energy consumption. How? By integrating artificial intelligence and Internet of Things sensors. This lets them monitor and optimize all their resources in real time. Smart tech is honestly proving to be the secret weapon in turning these massive ports into intelligent, sustainable hubs.
Okay, but what about the actual machinery, the ships themselves? The maritime industry is definitely a bit behind aviation and automotive when it comes to circular practices, but the financial reasons to catch up are huge. Research proves that if you remanufacture a high-speed marine engine, you get the exact same performance as a brand new one, but for almost half the cost. This perfectly highlights the real financial hook of circularity. You don't have to sacrifice an ounce of quality to drastically slash your costs.
And the financial upside goes even further. Try greater than 80%. That is how much the financial recovery value of an end-of-life vessel shoots up simply by using a maritime asset tracking database. By just running a digital system to track the really valuable equipment and managing the supply chain backwards throughout the ship's whole life, we unlock millions in value that normally just ends up rusting away at a scrapyard.
Let's scale this vision all the way up to one of the largest hubs on Earth. Portus Online magazine recently laid out a massive vision for the port of Rotterdam. Now, right now, this port handles about 470 million tons of freight, and it is heavily reliant on fossil fuels. But they are actively trying to morph into a giant waste-to-value port. They're mapping out a future powered by hydrogen, solar, and biomass, using smart logistics to ship recycled materials across the whole region, with a goal of hitting a 100% circular economy by 2050.
All right, time for a reality check. While better policies and cool tech are definitely pushing this forward, we are looking at some massive hurdles. 70% of industry respondents say high upfront costs are the #1 thing stopping them from building infrastructure like waste-to-energy plants. When you combine those crazy high capital costs with fragmented, inconsistent regulations all over the world, it is definitely an uphill battle to make this sweeping change.
To clear those hurdles, we need some very specific upgrades to global ship recycling standards. First off, documentation needs to track the full life cycle of a ship's materials, way beyond just flagging hazardous waste. Second, regulators absolutely have to stop outflagging. That's the notorious loophole where a ship switches to a less regulated country's flag right before it's scrapped, just to dodge strict rules. And third, we have to build a trusted, harmonized market for secondary materials so that recovered steel can actually be bought and sold reliably.
Which brings us to a really exciting milestone right on the horizon, the European Union Circular Economy Act. It's expected to hit in the fourth quarter of 2026, and it promises to be an absolute game changer. It's going to push material circularity, boost those secondary raw material markets we just talked about, and secure high-quality, local steel for Europe. By forcing material recovery right into the industrial agenda, this act might be exactly what the maritime sector needs to finally close the loop.
So this leaves us with one final big question to think about. With literally billions in hidden value floating on our oceans, are we finally ready to close the loop? The data makes sense, the tech is absolutely there, and the financial incentives are just undeniable. The global maritime industry is staring at a once-in-a-generation chance to stop being a linear polluter and become a true circular pioneer. Now it's just a matter of how fast we can get the policies and the money aligned to make it happen. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.